Have you ever trusted someone at work completely, only to discover they were playing a completely different game? You're not alone. Workplace betrayals cut deeper than any other kind of deception because they violate the sacred space where we spend most of our waking hours, transforming our professional sanctuary into a reminder of human cruelty and calculated manipulation. Trust forms the invisible foundation of every workplace relationship, yet it's precisely this vulnerability that makes professional betrayals cut so deeply. When someone extends genuine care in a work environment, they're essentially placing their emotional well-being in another person's hands. The busboy's nightly ritual wasn't just about safety protocols. It was about creating moments of connection in an otherwise transactional world. His gesture carried the weight of unspoken feelings, the kind that develop slowly in shared spaces, where people spend more waking hours than at home. Every evening became an opportunity to demonstrate loyalty through small acts of consideration. The professional environment masked deeper intentions, creating a perfect storm for misplaced trust. What seemed like workplace courtesy was actually the beginning of emotional investment that would soon face the harsh reality of human nature. Disappointment often begins with the sweetest gestures, and workplace dynamics amplify these emotional investments exponentially. The new waitress represented more than just a colleague. She embodied possibility, fresh energy, and perhaps even hope for something beyond the mundane routine of restaurant life. Her presence transformed ordinary closing procedures into meaningful rituals, each shared moment building a foundation of what felt like mutual understanding. The professional setting provided the perfect cover for developing deeper connections, where boundaries blur between courtesy and genuine care. Every night he waited, he was unknowingly writing checks his heart couldn't afford to cash. The restaurant's fluorescent lights witnessed countless small interactions that felt significant, each one adding another layer to his growing emotional attachment. These seemingly innocent moments would soon become the source of profound learning about human nature and professional relationships. The beauty of workplace relationships lies in their organic development, but this same quality makes them vulnerable to devastating betrayals that reshape our understanding of trust and loyalty. Professional environments create unique intimacy through shared struggles, common goals, and daily proximity that can feel more genuine than traditional social connections. However, this apparent authenticity often masks the complex motivations and hidden agendas that people bring to their work lives. The frustration of discovering someone's true character through betrayal becomes a masterclass in human psychology, teaching lessons that no business school could ever provide. What appears to be developing between colleagues isn't always what it seems, and the consequences of misreading these signals extend far beyond hurt feelings. The stage was being set for a revelation that would transform naive trust into hard-earned wisdom. But the real story was just beginning to unfold, and the lessons about to be learned would prove invaluable for anyone navigating the treacherous waters of workplace relationships. Learning to read people accurately becomes one of life's most valuable skills, especially in professional settings where personal and business interests constantly intersect. The busboy's experience represents thousands of similar situations where genuine care meets calculated manipulation, creating perfect conditions for emotional education. His nightly vigil demonstrated the kind of authentic concern that makes someone vulnerable to those who would exploit such goodness. The workplace becomes a laboratory for human behavior, where people reveal their true nature under the pressure of ambition, opportunity, and desire. Every interaction carries potential lessons about character assessment, boundary setting, and the delicate balance between professional courtesy and personal investment. The restaurant's closing routine had become a stage for a drama that would soon teach profound lessons about discernment. The anticipation building each evening was creating an emotional powder keg that would soon explode into harsh reality. Frustration transforms into wisdom when we learn to recognize the patterns that lead to workplace betrayals, turning painful experiences into protective knowledge. The daily ritual of waiting created a false sense of security and mutual understanding that would soon be shattered by the unforgiving truth of human nature. Professional environments often mask people's real intentions behind polite facades and necessary cooperation, making genuine assessment of character nearly impossible until crisis reveals truth. The busboy's story illustrates how workplace betrayals differ from other disappointments because they violate both personal trust and professional boundaries simultaneously. His experience would soon demonstrate that the most painful lessons often come disguised as the most beautiful beginnings. The closing time conversations and shared moments were building toward a revelation that would redefine his understanding of loyalty and deception. Every gesture of care was unknowingly setting the stage for a masterclass in human nature that would prove more valuable than any formal education. Superación begins with accepting that workplace betrayals, while painful, serve as essential education in human nature and self-protection. The busboy's journey from naive trust to informed caution represents a universal passage that most people must navigate in their professional lives. These experiences teach us to distinguish between genuine connection and calculated manipulation, skills that prove invaluable throughout entire careers. Professional environments will always contain people who view others' kindness as weakness to be exploited, making discernment a crucial survival skill. The restaurant setting would soon provide a perfect case study in how quickly workplace dynamics can shift from apparent mutual respect to devastating betrayal. His story demonstrates that the most valuable aprendizado often comes through the most painful experiences, transforming innocent trust into protective wisdom. The real education was about to begin, and its lessons would prove more valuable than any traditional training program could provide. The environment where we work shapes our emotional experiences more profoundly than most people realize, creating conditions where betrayal cuts deeper because it violates our sense of safety and routine. Professional settings become second homes where we develop attachments, expectations, and emotional investments that make us vulnerable to those who would abuse our trust. The busboy's experience illustrates how workplace betrayals teach us essential lessons about human nature, professional boundaries, and the difference between genuine care and manipulative behavior. His nightly routine of ensuring the waitress's safety was about to be repaid with a lesson in human nature that would reshape his understanding of trust and loyalty forever. The restaurant's closing ritual had created perfect conditions for emotional investment that would soon face the harsh reality of calculated deception. Every moment of apparent connection was building toward a revelation that would transform naive optimism into informed caution. The stage was set for a transformation that would prove more valuable than any formal education about workplace dynamics and human nature. Professional environments create unique opportunities for intimate conversations, where shared spaces become confessionals and workplace frustration transforms into emotional bonding. The empty corridors of any office building have witnessed countless moments where colleagues transcend their professional roles and connect on deeply personal levels. These hallway conversations often feel more authentic than formal meetings or casual break room chatter because they happen in liminal spaces, away from the performance of productivity. When someone says you're the only one who truly listens, they're offering what feels like the ultimate professional compliment while simultaneously creating dangerous emotional territory. The confidence shared in these moments carries weight precisely because it happens within the context of shared professional struggles and mutual understanding of workplace dynamics. Trust builds naturally in these environments because colleagues witness each other's competence, integrity, and character under pressure. However, this same intimacy that feels so genuine can become the foundation for devastating betrayal when misinterpreted or manipulated. Workplace relationships develop their own unique language of shared glances, inside jokes, and mutual understanding that can feel more intimate than many personal friendships. The hallway becomes a sanctuary where professional masks can slip slightly, revealing glimpses of authentic personality beneath corporate personas. These conversations often touch on frustrations with management, career aspirations, personal challenges, and dreams that extend beyond current circumstances. The feeling of being truly heard in a professional environment creates powerful emotional bonds because most workplace communication focuses on tasks, deadlines, and deliverables rather than genuine human connection. When someone acknowledges your unique ability to listen and understand, they're essentially saying, you provide something rare and valuable in their professional life. The environment amplifies these connections because colleagues spend more time together than with family members, creating natural intimacy through shared experiences. But the professional context also creates unique vulnerabilities that can be exploited by those skilled in emotional manipulation. Loyalty in workplace relationships often develops through these private moments of connection, where colleagues become confidants and professional boundaries blur into personal investment. The hallway conversations represent more than casual interaction. They become the foundation for emotional attachment that extends far beyond job descriptions or organizational charts. These exchanges create the illusion of special connection, where one person believes they've found a genuine ally in the often competitive and impersonal world of professional life. The feeling of being someone's trusted confidant in a workplace setting carries particular weight because it suggests mutual respect, shared values, and the possibility of lasting professional partnership. However, the same intimacy that feels so validating can be strategically deployed by those who understand how to create emotional dependency while maintaining complete emotional detachment themselves. The deception waiting in these situations often comes from discovering that what felt like mutual vulnerability was actually one-sided manipulation. The empty hallways would soon echo with very different conversations, and the lessons about workplace trust were about to become much more complex. Aprendizado about human nature often comes through recognizing the difference between genuine emotional connection and skilled emotional manipulation in professional settings. The colleague who makes you feel uniquely understood and valued may be demonstrating exceptional emotional intelligence, or they may be deploying calculated techniques to create useful emotional leverage. Professional environments provide perfect cover for these manipulative relationships because the context demands cooperation, communication, and mutual support to achieve common goals. The hallway confidant who seems so genuine may be testing your boundaries, assessing your vulnerabilities, or simply enjoying the ego boost that comes from being someone's workplace emotional anchor. These relationships teach us that feeling special to someone doesn't necessarily mean we actually are special to them. Sometimes we're just useful. The frustration of discovering this truth transforms naive workplace trust into sophisticated understanding of human motivation and professional dynamics. The conversations that felt so meaningful would soon be revealed in their true context, providing education that no management training could ever deliver. Professional environments become laboratories for understanding the complex interplay between genuine connection and strategic relationship building that characterizes most workplace interactions. The empty hallways where confidences were shared would soon become the setting for much different conversations as the true nature of the relationship became clear. These experiences teach us to distinguish between colleagues who genuinely value our perspective and those who simply know how to make us feel valued for their own purposes. The workplace provides unique opportunities for emotional manipulation because professional courtesy demands we remain civil and cooperative, even after discovering someone's true character. Understanding this dynamic becomes essential for anyone who wants to build genuine professional relationships while protecting themselves from those who would exploit their openness and trust. The ambiente professional rewards both authentic collaboration and skilled manipulation, making discernment a crucial career skill. The hallway conversations were about to take on very different meaning as the true nature of workplace loyalty became painfully clear. Trust becomes a more complex concept when we learn to recognize the difference between someone who listens because they care and someone who listens because information is power in professional settings. The colleague who seemed so understanding and supportive may have been gathering intelligence about your thoughts, feelings, and vulnerabilities to use for their own advancement or entertainment. Professional environments create perfect conditions for these information-gathering relationships because they masquerade as team building, collaboration, and mutual support. The super-assume that comes from these experiences involves learning to share appropriately while maintaining professional boundaries that protect your emotional well-being and career interests. These painful lessons about workplace betrayal ultimately serve as protection against future manipulation, teaching us to value actions over words and consistency over charm. The confidential hallway conversations were building toward a revelation that would transform understanding of professional relationships forever. The true education was about to begin, and its lessons would prove invaluable for navigating future workplace dynamics. The ambiente professional teaches us that the most dangerous betrayals often come from those who make us feel most understood and valued, because they're the ones we're least likely to guard against. The empty hallways that witnessed so many intimate conversations would soon become the setting for very different exchanges, as the true nature of workplace relationships became devastatingly clear. These experiences transform our understanding of professional trust from naive optimism to informed caution, teaching us to recognize genuine connection while protecting ourselves from skilled manipulation. The colleague who seemed so trustworthy and understanding was about to demonstrate that workplace relationships often serve purposes far different from what they appear to be. Every shared confidence and moment of apparent connection was building toward a lesson about human nature that would reshape understanding of professional relationships forever. The hallway conversations had created perfect conditions for emotional investment that would soon face the harsh reality of calculated betrayal. But this painful education would ultimately prove more valuable than any formal training about workplace dynamics, human nature, and the complex motivations that drive professional relationships. Physical touch in professional environments carries exponentially more weight than similar gestures in personal settings, because workplace boundaries make such contact rare and significant. When a colleague reaches out and touches your arm while sharing something personal, the gesture transcends normal professional interaction and enters territory that feels deeply meaningful. The workplace context amplifies every small gesture because most professional relationships maintain careful physical boundaries, making any deliberate contact feel intentional and loaded with possibility. Her words about feeling lighter, combined with the physical touch, created a perfect storm of validation that sent his emotions soaring beyond rational assessment. The professional environment had been building tension through shared glances, meaningful conversations, and growing emotional connection, making this moment feel like a breakthrough rather than manipulation. Trust develops through these seemingly spontaneous moments of authentic connection, where someone appears to let their guard down and reveal genuine feelings. However, the same gestures that create genuine intimacy can be deployed strategically by those who understand the psychological impact of calculated vulnerability. Confianza reaches dangerous levels when workplace interactions begin to feel like destiny rather than coincidence, transforming professional courtesy into personal validation. The fifth day represented a culmination of building emotional investment, where every previous interaction had been leading to this moment of apparent breakthrough. His floating sensation demonstrated how workplace relationships can hijack our emotional systems, creating euphoria that clouds judgment and rational assessment of the situation. The professional setting provided perfect cover for what felt like organic relationship development, masking the calculated nature of emotional manipulation behind apparent spontaneity. The touch on his arm wasn't just physical contact. It was the deployment of a psychological weapon that transformed professional collegiality into personal emotional investment. Workplace environments create unique vulnerabilities because they combine daily proximity with shared goals, making emotional manipulation feel like mutual attraction. The euphoria of feeling chosen and valued in a professional setting can overwhelm common sense and protective instincts. Lealtad becomes a complex concept when workplace relationships trigger powerful emotions that blur the lines between professional cooperation and personal investment. The colleague who makes you feel lighter may be demonstrating genuine affection, or they may be deploying sophisticated emotional manipulation techniques to create useful psychological leverage. Professional environments provide perfect laboratories for testing these relationship dynamics because the stakes feel lower than personal relationships, while the potential rewards remain high. His floating sensation represented the dangerous territory where workplace interactions begin to feel like personal validation, creating emotional dependency that can be exploited by those who understand human psychology. The fifth day marked a turning point where professional boundaries dissolved into personal investment, setting the stage for either genuine connection or devastating betrayal. The ambiente professional rewards both authentic relationship building and skilled emotional manipulation, making discernment nearly impossible until true motivations are revealed. The touch that felt so meaningful was about to be contextualized very differently as the real nature of workplace relationships became clear. Professional relationships teach us harsh lessons about the difference between feeling special and actually being special to someone in a work environment. The colleague who makes you feel uniquely valued may be demonstrating exceptional emotional intelligence in building genuine connections, or they may be deploying calculated techniques to create emotional leverage for their own purposes. Workplace settings amplify these dynamics because professional courtesy demands we remain cooperative and civil, regardless of personal feelings, creating perfect conditions for emotional manipulation. The frustration that comes from discovering the true nature of these relationships serves as essential education about human motivation, professional boundaries, and the complex interplay between authentic connection and strategic relationship building. His euphoric response to her gesture represented the moment when professional interaction transformed into personal emotional investment, creating vulnerability that could be either treasured or exploited. The ambiente professional provides unique opportunities for both genuine connection and sophisticated manipulation, making workplace relationships particularly complex to navigate. The floating sensation was about to be replaced by very different emotions as the true nature of professional trust became devastatingly clear. Workplace betrayals often begin with moments that feel like breakthrough connections, where apparent vulnerability creates false intimacy that masks calculated manipulation. The fifth day represented a perfect case study in how skilled emotional manipulators create feelings of special connection while maintaining complete emotional detachment themselves. Professional environments provide ideal cover for these techniques because workplace cooperation requires openness, communication, and mutual support that can be easily exploited by those who understand human psychology. The superasone that eventually comes from these experiences involves learning to distinguish between genuine emotional connection and strategic relationship building designed to create useful psychological leverage. His floating sensation demonstrated how workplace relationships can hijack our reward systems, creating powerful emotional responses that cloud judgment and rational assessment of other people's motivations. The deception waiting in this situation would soon provide education about human nature that no formal training could ever deliver. The touch that felt so meaningful was building toward a revelation that would transform his understanding of professional relationships and emotional manipulation forever. Aprendizato about workplace dynamics often comes through painful recognition that the most manipulative people are often the most skilled at creating feelings of genuine connection and mutual understanding. The colleague who touched his arm while sharing vulnerable feelings may have been demonstrating authentic affection, or she may have been deploying sophisticated psychological techniques to create emotional dependency. Professional environments create perfect conditions for these manipulative relationships because they provide daily proximity, shared challenges, and natural opportunities for apparent intimacy while maintaining plausible deniability about true intentions. The euphoria of feeling chosen and valued in a workplace setting can overwhelm protective instincts and rational assessment, creating emotional investments that far exceed the actual relationship. Trust in professional settings becomes particularly complex because it must balance openness with self-protection, genuine connection with strategic thinking. The floating sensation represented the moment when professional boundaries dissolved into personal vulnerability, creating conditions for either beautiful connection or devastating betrayal. The real education about human nature and workplace relationships was about to begin. Professional environments teach us that the most dangerous emotional investments often feel like the most natural and authentic connections, because skilled manipulators understand exactly how to create these feelings. The fifth day marked a turning point where workplace courtesy transformed into personal emotional attachment, setting the stage for either genuine mutual connection or sophisticated one-sided manipulation. His floating sensation demonstrated how workplace relationships can create powerful emotional rewards that feel more meaningful than traditional personal relationships because they develop within shared professional struggles and mutual goals. The ambiente professional amplifies every gesture because most workplace interactions maintain careful boundaries, making deliberate physical contact and emotional vulnerability feel extraordinarily significant. However, the same intimacy that creates genuine connection can be strategically deployed by those who understand how to exploit human emotional needs for their own purposes. The touch that sent him home floating was about to be revealed in its true context, providing lessons about trust, manipulation, and human nature that would reshape his understanding of professional relationships forever. The real story was just beginning, and the education about workplace betrayal was about to become much more complex and painful. Betrayal in professional environments cuts deeper than personal relationships because it violates both emotional trust and the sacred boundaries of shared workplace commitment. The sixth day represented the moment when carefully constructed illusions collided with harsh reality, transforming 5 days of building connection into a masterclass about human nature and workplace dynamics. Her sudden disappearance wasn't just absence. It was the deliberate destruction of established patterns that had created emotional security and expectation. Professional settings amplify these betrayals because they happen within environments where we spend most of our waking hours, making the violation feel like an assault on our daily sanctuary. The ambiente professional had become a stage for emotional manipulation, where apparent connection masked calculated exploitation of genuine feelings and trust. Workplace betrayals teach us that some people view others' emotional investment as entertainment or validation rather than sacred trust to be honored. The discovery that would come the next day would transform his understanding of professional relationships, human motivation, and the complex dynamics that govern workplace interactions forever. Disappointment reaches new depths when we discover that what felt like mutual connection was actually one-sided emotional investment being exploited by someone who viewed our feelings as amusing or useful rather than meaningful. The sommelier represented everything that made the betrayal particularly devastating. Older, experienced, with a known reputation for exactly this kind of behavior. Her choice revealed that the intimate conversations, shared confidences, and meaningful touches were never about genuine connection, but about ego gratification and perhaps even cruel entertainment. Professional environments create perfect conditions for these betrayals because they provide daily proximity and shared experiences that feel like authentic relationship building, while actually serving as cover for emotional manipulation. The confianza that had been building through workplace interactions was about to be shattered by the revelation that she had been simultaneously pursuing someone else while creating false intimacy with him. Workplace betrayals teach us harsh lessons about reading people accurately and recognizing the difference between genuine interest and strategic manipulation. The floating sensation of the previous day was about to be replaced by the crushing weight of reality about human nature and professional relationships. Frustration transforms into wisdom when we learn to recognize the patterns that lead to workplace betrayals, turning painful experiences into protective knowledge for future professional relationships. The sommelier's reputation should have served as a warning sign, but workplace dynamics often blind us to obvious red flags because we want to believe in the authenticity of our connections. Professional environments create unique vulnerabilities because they combine daily proximity with shared goals, making emotional manipulation feel like natural relationship development. Her strategic disappearance on the 6th day demonstrated sophisticated understanding of psychological manipulation, creating just enough absence to generate anxiety and emotional investment while pursuing other interests. The ambiente professional had become a laboratory for studying human nature, where genuine emotion met calculated exploitation in ways that would reshape understanding of trust and loyalty forever. Workplace betrayals serve as essential education about character assessment, boundary setting, and the difference between people who value genuine connection and those who exploit it. The lesson about to be learned would prove more valuable than any formal training about professional relationships and human psychology. Lealtad becomes a complex concept when we discover that workplace relationships can serve multiple purposes simultaneously, with some people maintaining several emotional investments for different types of validation. The sommelier represented the classic workplace predator, someone who uses position, experience, and reputation to exploit younger colleagues' desires for connection and advancement. Her choice revealed that the meaningful conversations and intimate moments were never about mutual connection, but about enjoying the attention and emotional investment of someone who genuinely cared. Professional settings provide perfect cover for these manipulative relationships because workplace courtesy demands we remain civil and cooperative regardless of personal feelings, creating conditions where emotional abuse can flourish unchallenged. The superassume that comes from these experiences involves learning to recognize genuine character versus skilled performance, protecting emotional investments while remaining open to authentic connections. Workplace environments will always contain people who view others' feelings as resources to be exploited, rather than gifts to be treasured. The revelation about the sommelier was about to provide education about human nature that would reshape understanding of professional trust and emotional intelligence forever. Professional betrayals teach us essential lessons about the difference between someone who appreciates genuine emotional connection and someone who simply knows how to exploit it for their own gratification. The sommelier's involvement added layers of humiliation because it revealed that she had been evaluating options, choosing experience and reputation over authentic connection and genuine care. Workplace environments create perfect conditions for these comparisons because they provide access to people at different career stages, with varying levels of power, experience, and social status. The deception of discovering that meaningful workplace relationships can be discarded so easily serves as crucial education about human motivation and the complex calculations that some people make in their professional lives. Her strategic management of multiple emotional investments demonstrated sophisticated understanding of workplace psychology and human nature that would have impressed manipulation experts. The ambiente professional rewards both authentic relationship building and skilled emotional exploitation, making discernment a crucial survival skill. The floating sensation of the previous day was about to be replaced by hard-earned wisdom about trust, betrayal, and the true nature of some workplace relationships. Aprendizado about workplace dynamics often comes through painful recognition that some colleagues view emotional connections as strategic resources rather than meaningful relationships deserving of respect and loyalty. The sommelier's reputation should have served as a warning, but the intimacy created through workplace interactions can blind us to obvious dangers because we want to believe in the authenticity of our connections. Professional environments provide unique opportunities for emotional manipulation because they combine daily proximity with shared challenges, creating natural opportunities for apparent vulnerability while maintaining plausible deniability about true intentions. The sixth day's disappearance represented the moment when carefully constructed illusions began to crumble, revealing the calculated nature of what had felt like organic relationship development. Workplace betrayals serve as essential education about character assessment, helping us distinguish between people who value genuine connection and those who exploit emotional vulnerability for entertainment or validation. The revelation about her choice would soon provide a masterclass in human nature that no formal training could ever deliver. The real education about professional relationships and emotional intelligence was about to begin. Trust in professional environments becomes infinitely more complex when we learn that some people maintain multiple emotional investments simultaneously, evaluating options while creating false intimacy with multiple colleagues. The sommelier represented the culmination of everything that made this betrayal particularly devastating. Age, experience, reputation, and position all combined to reveal that the meaningful workplace connection had been nothing more than entertainment, while she pursued what she considered a more valuable opportunity. Professional settings amplify these betrayals because they happen within our daily environment, transforming our workplace from a source of connection and meaning into a reminder of human nature's darker aspects. Her strategic disappearance demonstrated sophisticated understanding of emotional manipulation, creating just enough absence to generate anxiety while pursuing other interests without explanation or consideration. The ambiente professional had become a stage for a cruel education about human motivation, workplace dynamics, and the difference between genuine connection and skilled exploitation. The floating sensation was about to be replaced by crushing reality. But this painful experience would ultimately provide invaluable education about professional relationships, human nature, and emotional intelligence that would serve as protection throughout an entire career. The real story was just beginning to unfold. Workplace gossip becomes a weapon of mass destruction when personal betrayals transform into public humiliation, turning professional environments into theaters of emotional devastation. The comment that spread among staff wasn't just information sharing. It was the systematic destruction of someone's dignity within their professional community. Restaurant environments, like most close-knit workplaces, create intimate social ecosystems where everyone's business becomes everyone's entertainment, making personal betrayals into public spectacles. The trembling hands while washing glasses represented the physical manifestation of emotional devastation, where professional tasks become nearly impossible while processing the dual trauma of betrayal and public humiliation. Professional environments amplify these experiences because they combine personal violation with professional vulnerability, creating conditions where emotional pain interferes with basic job performance. The ambiente professional had transformed from a place of routine and connection into a gauntlet of knowing looks, whispered conversations, and barely contained amusement at his expense. Workplace betrayals teach us that some people view others' emotional pain as entertainment, creating social dynamics that can feel more cruel than any personal relationship ending. Confianza shatters completely when private emotional investment becomes public entertainment, transforming workplace colleagues from neutral observers into participants in your humiliation. The spreading comment represented the weaponization of workplace social dynamics, where someone's personal pain becomes the subject of breakroom conversations and knowing glances between shifts. Professional environments create unique vulnerabilities because they combine daily proximity with social hierarchies, making emotional betrayals into public performance art that follows you through every workday. The trembling hands demonstrated how workplace humiliation affects basic job performance, creating a vicious cycle where emotional devastation interferes with professional competence. Restaurant settings, with their close quarters and intense social dynamics, amplify these experiences because there's nowhere to hide from the constant reminders of your public embarrassment. The lealtad he had shown through nightly safety escorts had been repaid with calculated cruelty that extended far beyond personal betrayal into professional sabotage. Workplace betrayals teach us harsh lessons about how quickly professional relationships can transform from supportive to sadistic when personal drama enters the professional arena. Frustration reaches new depths when we realize that workplace betrayals create lasting damage to our professional environment, transforming daily routines into reminders of personal humiliation and emotional vulnerability. The staff's reaction to the spreading comment revealed the cruel entertainment value that some people find in others' emotional pain, creating social dynamics that can make continued employment feel impossible. Professional environments become contaminated by these experiences because they combine personal violation with professional necessity, forcing continued interaction with people who witnessed your deepest humiliation. The trembling hands while performing routine tasks demonstrated how emotional trauma interferes with basic job functions, creating additional stress about professional competence during periods of personal crisis. Workplace gossip serves multiple functions: entertainment, social bonding, and sometimes deliberate cruelty designed to establish social hierarchies and demonstrate power over those who have been emotionally wounded. The ambiente professional had become a daily reminder of betrayal, where every shift brought fresh opportunities for colleagues to demonstrate their awareness of his personal humiliation. The silence while washing glasses represented the complete withdrawal that often follows public betrayal, where professional interaction becomes a survival strategy rather than genuine communication. Professional environments teach us harsh lessons about human nature when personal betrayals become public entertainment, revealing how quickly colleagues can transform from supportive to sadistic. The spreading comment wasn't accidental information sharing. It was the deliberate amplification of someone's personal pain for the amusement and social bonding of others who found entertainment in his emotional devastation. Workplace dynamics create perfect conditions for this kind of cruelty because they combine daily proximity with social hierarchies, making someone's humiliation into shared experience that brings others together through collective superiority. The trembling hands represented the physical manifestation of emotional trauma that interferes with basic job performance, creating additional stress about professional competence during periods when emotional resources are already depleted. Superassume from these experiences requires learning to separate personal worth from workplace social dynamics, understanding that some people's cruelty says more about their character than about your value. The deception of discovering how quickly colleagues can transform from neutral observers into active participants in your humiliation serves as essential education about workplace relationships. The silence while washing glasses had become a protective strategy, but the real learning about human nature and professional survival was just beginning. Workplace betrayals create lasting contamination of professional environments because they transform daily routines into reminders of personal humiliation that can make continued employment feel psychologically impossible. The staff's reaction to the spreading comment revealed the complex social dynamics that govern workplace relationships, where someone's personal pain becomes raw material for entertainment, social bonding, and sometimes deliberate cruelty. Professional settings amplify these experiences because they combine personal violation with professional necessity, forcing continued interaction with people who witnessed your deepest moments of vulnerability and chose to use them for their own amusement. The trembling hands while performing routine tasks demonstrated how emotional trauma creates lasting interference with basic job functions, affecting everything from manual dexterity to cognitive processing. Aprendizado from these experiences involves understanding that workplace social dynamics often reflect the worst aspects of human nature, where people's need for entertainment and social bonding can override basic empathy and professional courtesy. The ambiente professional had become a theater of cruelty, where his personal pain served as daily entertainment for colleagues who found his emotional devastation amusing rather than tragic. The washing of glasses in silence represented complete emotional withdrawal, but this protective strategy would soon evolve into something much more powerful. Trust in professional environments becomes infinitely more complex when we learn that colleagues can transform from neutral observers into active participants in our humiliation, using our personal pain as raw material for workplace entertainment. The spreading comment demonstrated sophisticated understanding of workplace social dynamics, where information becomes currency, and someone's emotional devastation provides material for breakroom bonding and shared superiority. Professional environments create perfect conditions for this kind of psychological warfare because they combine daily proximity with social hierarchies, making personal betrayals into public performance art that follows you through every work shift. The trembling hands while washing glasses represented the moment when emotional trauma began interfering with professional competence, creating additional stress about job performance during periods when emotional resources were already completely depleted. Workplace betrayals teach us that some environments become psychologically toxic after personal humiliation, requiring either complete emotional withdrawal or strategic planning for professional survival and recovery. The silence had become a protective mechanism, but the real education about human nature, professional relationships, and emotional resilience was about to transform this devastating experience into invaluable wisdom. The trembling would soon stop, replaced by something much more powerful and enduring. Professional environments serve as laboratories for understanding the complex interplay between personal vulnerability and workplace social dynamics, where emotional betrayals become public entertainment that can contaminate entire professional communities. The spreading comment wasn't just gossip, it was the systematic weaponization of workplace relationships, transforming colleagues from potential allies into active participants in ongoing humiliation. Restaurant settings with their close quarters and intense social bonds create perfect conditions for this kind of emotional warfare, where someone's personal pain becomes shared entertainment that brings others together through collective superiority over the wounded. The trembling hands represented the physical manifestation of psychological trauma that interferes with basic job performance, creating a vicious cycle where emotional devastation affects professional competence and workplace standing. Frustration transforms into wisdom when we learn that some professional environments become contaminated by personal betrayals, requiring strategic thinking about emotional survival and professional recovery rather than naive hope for colleague empathy. The ambiente professional had become a daily reminder of human cruelty, but this devastating experience was about to provide education about resilience, character, and professional survival that would prove invaluable throughout an entire career. The silence while washing glasses was about to transform into something much more powerful, as the real lessons about workplace dynamics and human nature began to emerge. Emotional maturity reveals itself most clearly in moments of betrayal, when the wounded person chooses wisdom over vengeance and self-reflection over blame. His response demonstrated the kind of sophisticated understanding that transforms devastating experiences into powerful learning opportunities about human nature and personal responsibility. The temptation to lash out at someone who has betrayed our trust runs deep, but true growth comes from recognizing our own role in creating conditions for emotional manipulation. Professional environments test our character most severely when personal relationships intersect with workplace dynamics, creating complex situations where emotional intelligence becomes more valuable than technical skills. His refusal to direct anger outward while acknowledging personal accountability represented the moment when painful experience began transforming into protective wisdom. The ambiente professional had provided a masterclass in human psychology, teaching lessons about trust, discernment, and the difference between genuine connection and skilled manipulation. Workplace betrayals serve as essential education about character assessment, boundary setting, and the importance of maintaining emotional equilibrium, even when others choose to behave without integrity or consideration. Confianza evolves from naive optimism to informed discernment, through experiences that teach us the difference between people who deserve emotional investment and those who exploit it for their own entertainment. Her attempt to minimize the betrayal through casual joking revealed sophisticated understanding of psychological manipulation, trying to reframe devastating emotional violation as minor misunderstanding that shouldn't affect their continued interaction. Professional settings create perfect conditions for this kind of gaslighting, because workplace courtesy demands we remain civil and cooperative regardless of personal feelings, making it difficult to address emotional manipulation directly. His response demonstrated remarkable emotional intelligence by refusing to engage with her manipulation while taking responsibility for his own choices in trusting someone who had demonstrated questionable character. The frustration of discovering that meaningful workplace relationships can be discarded so easily serves as crucial education about human motivation and the complex calculations that govern some people's professional interactions. Workplace betrayals teach us that emotional maturity means focusing on our own growth rather than trying to change or punish people who choose to behave without integrity. The conversation represented a turning point where victim mentality transformed into personal empowerment through self-awareness and accountability. Lealtad becomes a more sophisticated concept when we learn to distinguish between appropriate trust and naive vulnerability, understanding that emotional intelligence includes protecting ourselves from people who would exploit our openness. Her joking attempt to minimize the betrayal demonstrated classic manipulation techniques designed to make the wounded person feel unreasonable for having normal emotional responses to abnormal treatment. Professional environments amplify these dynamics because they require continued interaction, regardless of personal feelings, creating conditions where emotional manipulation can flourish under the guise of workplace harmony and professional courtesy. His response showed remarkable wisdom in refusing to be drawn into anger, while maintaining clear boundaries about the reality of what had occurred between them. The ambiente professional had become a laboratory for studying human behavior, where genuine emotion met calculated exploitation in ways that would reshape understanding of professional relationships forever. Workplace betrayals serve as essential education about reading people accurately, setting appropriate boundaries, and maintaining emotional equilibrium when others choose to behave without consideration or integrity. The conversation marked the moment when devastating experience began transforming into protective wisdom that would serve throughout an entire career. Professional relationships teach us harsh lessons about the difference between people who take responsibility for their actions and those who minimize their impact through strategic humor and emotional manipulation. Her attempt to joke about the betrayal revealed sophisticated understanding of psychological techniques designed to make the wounded person feel unreasonable for having normal responses to abnormal treatment. Workplace dynamics create perfect cover for this kind of manipulation because professional courtesy demands we maintain civil relationships regardless of personal feelings, making it difficult to address emotional violation directly without appearing unprofessional. His response demonstrated the kind of emotional maturity that transforms devastating experiences into powerful learning opportunities about human nature, personal responsibility, and the importance of self-protection in professional environments. The superasson that comes from these experiences involves learning to focus on our own growth rather than trying to change or punish people who choose to behave without integrity or consideration for others' feelings. Deception serves its purpose when it teaches us to recognize manipulation techniques and protect ourselves from people who view emotional connection as strategic resource rather than meaningful relationship. The conversation represented the moment when victim mentality transformed into personal empowerment through sophisticated understanding of human psychology and workplace dynamics. Aprendizado about workplace betrayals often centers on recognizing our own responsibility for creating conditions that allow emotional manipulation to flourish, transforming painful experiences into protective wisdom. Her joking response wasn't casual conversation. It was sophisticated psychological manipulation designed to minimize the betrayal while making him feel unreasonable for having normal emotional responses to devastating treatment. Professional environments create unique vulnerabilities because they combine daily proximity with shared goals, making emotional manipulation feel like workplace collegiality while actually serving as cover for psychological abuse. His refusal to direct anger outward while acknowledging personal accountability demonstrated remarkable emotional intelligence and the kind of self-awareness that transforms devastating experiences into valuable education about human nature. Workplace betrayals teach us that emotional maturity means taking responsibility for our own choices while maintaining clear boundaries about acceptable treatment from others. The ambiente professional had provided essential education about character assessment, manipulation techniques, and the importance of protecting emotional investments while remaining open to authentic connections. The conversation marked the turning point where painful experience began transforming into sophisticated understanding of professional relationships and human psychology. Trust becomes infinitely more sophisticated when we learn to distinguish between appropriate emotional investment and naive vulnerability that creates opportunities for manipulation and exploitation. Her attempt to minimize the betrayal through humor revealed advanced understanding of psychological techniques designed to reframe devastating emotional violation as minor misunderstanding that shouldn't affect their continued professional interaction. Workplace settings provide perfect conditions for this kind of manipulation because they require continued cooperation regardless of personal feelings, creating environments where emotional abuse can flourish under the guise of professional harmony. His response demonstrated the kind of wisdom that comes from accepting personal responsibility for emotional choices, while maintaining clear boundaries about acceptable treatment from colleagues and romantic interests. Frustration transforms into growth when we learn that focusing on our own development provides more value than trying to change or punish people who choose to behave without consideration for others' emotional well-being. The conversation represented the moment when devastating betrayal began transforming into invaluable education about human nature, professional relationships, and emotional intelligence that would provide protection throughout an entire career. The real learning about workplace dynamics and personal empowerment was just beginning to emerge. Professional environments serve as laboratories for developing emotional intelligence through experiences that test our ability to maintain dignity and self-awareness when others choose to behave without integrity or consideration. Her joking response wasn't spontaneous humor. It was calculated manipulation designed to minimize her responsibility while making him feel unreasonable for having normal emotional responses to abnormal treatment from someone he had trusted. Workplace betrayals teach us that emotional maturity means accepting responsibility for our own choices while refusing to enable others' manipulation through anger, blame, or continued emotional investment. His response demonstrated sophisticated understanding that anger directed outward provides temporary satisfaction, but prevents the self-reflection necessary for genuine growth and future protection. The ambiente professional had become a masterclass in human psychology, teaching essential lessons about character assessment, manipulation techniques, and the difference between people who deserve emotional investment and those who exploit it for entertainment. Confianza evolves from naive optimism to informed discernment through experiences that force us to examine our own role in creating conditions for emotional manipulation, while maintaining appropriate boundaries about acceptable treatment from others. The conversation marked the transformation from victim mentality to personal empowerment, setting the stage for profound changes in how workplace relationships would be approached in the future. Professional environments reveal their true nature when workplace betrayals reach their inevitable conclusions, demonstrating how quickly emotional manipulation transforms into complete abandonment by all parties involved. The firing represented more than employment termination. It was the systematic erasure of someone who had treated workplace relationships as entertainment, rather than sacred trust, deserving respect and consideration. Restaurant hierarchies, like most professional settings, protect those with established value, while discarding those who create complications through emotional manipulation and poor judgment. The sommelier's denial demonstrated classic workplace behavior when personal relationships interfere with professional standing, where people quickly distance themselves from associates who become liabilities. Her termination served as harsh education about the consequences of treating emotional connections as strategic resources rather than meaningful relationships requiring loyalty and integrity. The ambiente professional had revealed its underlying values through swift justice, teaching essential lessons about character, consequences, and the importance of building genuine professional relationships based on mutual respect rather than manipulation. Workplace betrayals ultimately expose everyone's true nature, creating natural selection processes that protect authentic people while eliminating those who exploit others' emotional vulnerability for personal entertainment. Confianza in professional settings becomes validated when workplace justice demonstrates that environments with integrity eventually protect genuine people, while eliminating those who exploit emotional connections for personal gain. The sommelier's complete denial of knowing her revealed the calculated nature of workplace manipulation, where predatory individuals quickly abandon their victims when associations become professionally inconvenient. Professional environments serve as laboratories for understanding human nature, where people's true character emerges under pressure and consequences reveal who possesses genuine integrity versus sophisticated manipulation skills. His philosophical response about not waiting for those who don't know how to stay demonstrated hard-earned wisdom about the difference between people who deserve emotional investment and those who exploit it for temporary entertainment. The firing represented workplace karma in action, where treating colleagues' feelings as strategic resources rather than sacred trust eventually leads to professional consequences that extend far beyond immediate emotional damage. Restaurant settings, with their close quarters and intense social dynamics, amplify these lessons, because there's nowhere to hide from the consequences of treating others without consideration or respect. Workplace betrayals teach us that professional environments with integrity naturally select for authentic people, while eliminating those who view emotional manipulation as acceptable behavior. Lealtad receives its ultimate validation when workplace consequences demonstrate that professional environments value genuine character over temporary entertainment, protecting authentic relationships while eliminating toxic influences. The sommelier's strategic abandonment revealed the predictable pattern of workplace predators who quickly distance themselves from associates when continuing those relationships becomes professionally inconvenient or potentially damaging. Professional settings create perfect conditions for observing these dynamics, because they combine personal relationships with career consequences, making character assessment absolutely crucial for long-term success and emotional well-being. Her termination served as essential education about the real costs of treating workplace relationships as entertainment rather than meaningful connections deserving loyalty, respect, and consideration for others' emotional investment. The ambiente professional had demonstrated its underlying values through swift action, teaching invaluable lessons about how authentic professional communities protect genuine people, while eliminating those who exploit emotional vulnerability for personal gain. His wisdom about not waiting for those who don't know how to stay represented hard-earned understanding about the difference between people who deserve continued emotional investment and those who have proven themselves unworthy of trust through their choices and treatment of others. Workplace justice serves multiple functions: protecting authentic people, eliminating toxic influences, and teaching essential lessons about character, consequences, and professional integrity. Professional environments teach us profound lessons about human nature when workplace betrayals reach their natural conclusions, demonstrating how quickly manipulative relationships dissolve when they no longer serve their intended purposes. The firing wasn't just employment termination. It was the inevitable consequence of treating professional relationships as entertainment rather than sacred trust, requiring mutual respect, consideration, and genuine care for others' emotional well-being. Restaurant hierarchies revealed their underlying values by protecting established contributors, while eliminating those who created complications through emotional manipulation, poor judgment, and treatment of colleagues as strategic resources rather than human beings deserving basic dignity. The sommelier's complete denial demonstrated the predictable pattern of workplace predators who exploit emotional connections for temporary validation while maintaining complete detachment from any responsibility for the damage they cause. Frustration transforms into satisfaction when workplace justice demonstrates that professional environments with integrity naturally select for authentic people, while eliminating those who view manipulation as acceptable behavior. The superasson that comes from witnessing these consequences involves understanding that genuine character eventually receives validation, while toxic behavior faces natural elimination through workplace selection processes. His philosophical wisdom about not waiting for those who don't know how to stay represented the transformation from naive trust to informed discernment about human nature and professional relationships. Aprendizaje about workplace dynamics reaches completion when we witness the natural consequences of emotional manipulation, understanding that professional environments with integrity protect authentic relationships while eliminating toxic influences. Her termination served as essential education about the real costs of treating colleagues' emotional investment as entertainment rather than sacred trust, deserving loyalty, respect, and genuine consideration for others' well-being. The sommelier's strategic abandonment revealed sophisticated understanding of workplace politics, where predatory individuals quickly distance themselves from associates when continuing those relationships becomes professionally inconvenient or potentially damaging to their established positions. Professional settings provide perfect laboratories for studying these dynamics because they combine personal relationships with career consequences, making character assessment absolutely crucial for both emotional protection and professional success. Workplace betrayals teach us that environments with genuine integrity naturally select for people who value authentic connection while eliminating those who exploit emotional vulnerability for personal gain or entertainment. The ambiente professional had demonstrated its underlying values through decisive action, protecting genuine people while teaching invaluable lessons about human nature, professional integrity, and the importance of building relationships based on mutual respect rather than manipulation. The wisdom about not waiting for those who don't know how to stay represented complete transformation from victim mentality to empowered understanding of workplace dynamics and human psychology. Trust in professional environments receives ultimate validation when workplace consequences demonstrate that authentic character eventually triumphs over sophisticated manipulation, teaching essential lessons about the long-term value of genuine integrity. The firing represented more than individual consequences. It was systematic validation that professional communities with real values protect people who demonstrate authentic care, while eliminating those who treat emotional connections as strategic resources rather than meaningful relationships. Restaurant settings amplified these lessons because their close quarters and intense social dynamics make character assessment absolutely crucial for creating positive work environments where genuine people can thrive without fear of emotional exploitation. The sommelier's complete denial revealed the predictable cowardice of workplace predators who quickly abandon their victims when associations become professionally inconvenient, demonstrating that manipulative people lack the courage to face consequences for their choices. Deception transforms into wisdom when we witness how quickly manipulative relationships dissolve once they no longer serve their intended purposes, teaching us valuable lessons about the temporary nature of connections based on exploitation rather than mutual respect. His philosophical response represented the culmination of hard-earned understanding about human nature, workplace dynamics, and the difference between people who deserve continued emotional investment and those who have proven themselves unworthy through their treatment of others. The ambiente professional had provided a masterclass in justice, character, and the natural selection processes that protect authentic relationships while eliminating toxic influences. Professional environments serve as the ultimate testing grounds for human character, where workplace betrayals eventually lead to consequences that reveal everyone's true nature while teaching invaluable lessons about integrity, loyalty, and authentic relationship building. Her termination wasn't just individual punishment. It was systematic validation that professional communities with genuine values naturally protect people who demonstrate authentic care while eliminating those who exploit emotional vulnerability for personal entertainment or validation. The sommelier's strategic abandonment demonstrated the predictable pattern of workplace predators who maintain complete emotional detachment while exploiting others' genuine feelings, quickly distancing themselves when continuing associations becomes professionally inconvenient or potentially damaging. Restaurant hierarchies revealed their underlying integrity by protecting established contributors who demonstrated genuine character while eliminating toxic influences that threatened the emotional safety and professional well-being of authentic team members. Confianza receives its ultimate validation through these workplace justice processes, where genuine people eventually receive protection, while manipulative individuals face natural consequences for treating colleagues as strategic resources rather than human beings deserving basic respect and consideration. His wisdom about not waiting for those who don't know how to stay represented complete transformation from naive vulnerability to sophisticated understanding of human nature, workplace dynamics, and the essential skills required for building authentic professional relationships based on mutual respect, genuine care, and shared commitment to treating others' emotional investments as sacred trust rather than entertainment. The ambiente professional had provided education that no formal training could ever deliver, teaching lessons about character, consequences, and professional integrity that would serve as protection and guidance throughout an entire career. A year later, he became the restaurant's head waiter. A journalist praised the service. At the end of the night, he saved the most expensive glass for the right customer, this time, someone who valued it. Professional transformation often emerges from the ashes of workplace betrayal, where devastating experiences become the foundation for developing sophisticated judgment about human character and authentic relationship building. The promotion to head waiter represented more than career advancement. It was validation that genuine integrity and authentic care eventually receive recognition in professional environments that value real character over manipulation and exploitation. His journey from vulnerable busboy to respected leader demonstrated how workplace betrayals serve as essential education about human nature, teaching lessons that formal training could never provide about discernment, boundary setting, and the difference between people who deserve emotional investment and those who exploit it. The ambiente professional had transformed from a source of pain into a platform for demonstrating hard-earned wisdom about professional relationships, customer service, and the sophisticated understanding of human psychology that comes from surviving emotional manipulation. Restaurant hierarchies revealed their underlying values by recognizing someone who had learned to distinguish between genuine appreciation and calculated exploitation, promoting authentic character over superficial charm or manipulative skills. The journalist's praise validated not just technical competence, but the emotional intelligence that develops when painful experiences transform into protective wisdom about reading people accurately and investing emotional energy wisely. Workplace betrayals ultimately serve as masterclasses in human psychology that create leaders capable of building authentic professional communities based on mutual respect rather than exploitation. Confianza evolves into sophisticated discernment when workplace betrayals teach us essential lessons about character assessment, transforming naive vulnerability into informed wisdom about human nature and professional relationships. The expensive glass saved for the right customer represented the practical application of hard-earned understanding about the difference between people who appreciate genuine value and those who exploit it for their own purposes. Professional environments serve as laboratories for developing these crucial skills, where painful experiences with manipulation create protective knowledge about reading intentions, assessing character, and investing emotional energy in relationships that provide mutual respect rather than one-sided exploitation. His transformation from betrayed busboy to respected head waiter demonstrated how workplace pain can become professional strength when we learn to focus on personal growth rather than trying to change or punish people who choose to behave without integrity. The journalist's recognition validated the authentic service that emerges when someone learns to distinguish between customers who deserve exceptional treatment and those who would exploit such care without appreciation or reciprocal respect. Restaurant settings amplify these lessons because they require constant character assessment in high-pressure situations where emotional intelligence becomes as important as technical skills for creating exceptional experiences. Lealtad receives its ultimate expression when we learn to direct our genuine care toward people who have demonstrated through their actions that they value and reciprocate such treatment rather than exploit it for personal gain. Aprendizado about workplace dynamics reaches fruition when devastating betrayals transform into sophisticated leadership skills that protect authentic relationships while creating exceptional professional experiences. The promotion represented validation that professional environments with integrity eventually recognize and reward people who demonstrate genuine character, emotional intelligence, and the wisdom that comes from surviving manipulation without becoming manipulative themselves. His careful selection of the right customer for the expensive glass demonstrated practical application of lessons learned through workplace betrayal, understanding that exceptional treatment should be reserved for people who have proven through their behavior that they appreciate and reciprocate such care. Professional settings provide perfect training grounds for developing these crucial judgment skills, where experiences with emotional manipulation teach essential lessons about reading people accurately, setting appropriate boundaries, and investing energy in relationships that provide mutual respect rather than exploitation. The journalist's praise validated not just technical competence, but the emotional sophistication that develops when painful experiences transform into protective wisdom about human nature and authentic relationship building. Restaurant environments amplify these dynamics because they require constant assessment of customer character while providing exceptional service, making emotional intelligence as crucial as technical skills for professional success. The ambiente professional had evolved from a source of pain into a platform for demonstrating the leadership qualities that emerge when workplace betrayals transform into sophisticated understanding of human psychology and authentic relationship building. Professional excellence emerges when workplace betrayals teach us essential lessons about character assessment, transforming devastating experiences into sophisticated judgment about human nature and authentic relationship building. The expensive glass reserved for the appreciative customer represented the practical wisdom that comes from learning to distinguish between people who deserve exceptional treatment and those who would exploit such care without reciprocal respect or genuine appreciation. His journey from vulnerable busboy to respected head waiter demonstrated how emotional pain can become professional strength when we focus on personal growth rather than revenge. developing the emotional intelligence necessary for creating authentic professional communities. Restaurant hierarchies revealed their underlying integrity by recognizing someone who had learned through painful experience to read people accurately, invest energy wisely, and provide exceptional service to customers who demonstrated through their behavior that they valued such treatment. The journalist's recognition validated the authentic excellence that emerges when someone transforms workplace betrayal into sophisticated understanding of human psychology, customer service, and the difference between people who appreciate genuine value and those who exploit it. Supervision reaches completion when devastating experiences become the foundation for professional leadership based on wisdom, discernment, and the ability to create exceptional experiences for people who have proven themselves worthy of such investment. Frustration transforms into satisfaction when we learn to direct our genuine care toward people who reciprocate rather than exploit such treatment, creating authentic relationships that provide mutual respect and appreciation. Trust becomes infinitely more sophisticated when workplace betrayals teach us essential lessons about human nature, transforming naive vulnerability into informed wisdom about character assessment and authentic relationship building. The careful selection of the right customer for expensive treatment demonstrated practical application of hard-earned understanding about the difference between people who appreciate exceptional care and those who exploit it for their own purposes without reciprocal respect or genuine gratitude. Professional environments serve as perfect training grounds for developing these crucial skills, where experiences with emotional manipulation create protective knowledge about reading intentions, assessing character, and investing energy in relationships that provide mutual benefit, rather than one-sided exploitation. His transformation from betrayed employee to respected leader validated the principle that genuine integrity eventually receives recognition in professional communities that value authentic character over superficial charm or manipulative abilities. The journalist's praise represented external validation of the exceptional service that emerges when someone learns to combine technical competence with emotional intelligence, creating experiences that reflect sophisticated understanding of human psychology and customer relationships. Restaurant settings amplify these lessons because they require constant character assessment while providing service, making emotional wisdom as important as technical skills for professional excellence and authentic relationship building. The ambiente professional had become a platform for demonstrating the leadership qualities that develop when painful experiences transform into sophisticated understanding of human nature and professional relationships. Deception transforms into professional excellence when workplace betrayals teach essential lessons about character assessment, creating leaders capable of building authentic communities based on mutual respect rather than exploitation or manipulation. The expensive glass saved for the appreciative customer represented the culmination of hard-earned wisdom about distinguishing between people who deserve exceptional treatment and those who would abuse such care without gratitude or reciprocal consideration. His promotion to head waiter validated the principle that professional environments with integrity eventually recognize and reward people who demonstrate genuine character, emotional intelligence, and the sophisticated judgment that comes from surviving manipulation without becoming manipulative themselves. Restaurant hierarchies revealed their underlying values by promoting someone who had learned, through painful experience, to read people accurately, set appropriate boundaries, and create exceptional experiences for customers who demonstrated through their behavior that they valued and appreciated such treatment. The journalist's recognition represented external validation of the authentic excellence that emerges when devastating workplace experiences transform into protective wisdom about human psychology, professional relationships, and the difference between people who reciprocate genuine care and those who exploit it for personal gain. Professional settings provide perfect laboratories for developing these crucial leadership skills, where experiences with emotional betrayal create essential knowledge about building authentic relationships while protecting oneself from those who view others' care as weakness to be exploited rather than gift to be treasured. The ambiente professional had evolved from a source of trauma into a platform for demonstrating the sophisticated understanding of human nature that creates exceptional professional experiences based on wisdom, discernment, and authentic relationship building. Professional transformation reaches completion when workplace betrayals become the foundation for exceptional leadership based on sophisticated character assessment and authentic relationship building skills. The year-long journey from betrayed busboy to respected headwaiter demonstrated how devastating experiences can transform into professional strength when we focus on personal growth rather than revenge, developing the emotional intelligence necessary for creating genuine professional communities. His careful selection of the right customer for expensive treatment represented practical application of hard-earned wisdom about distinguishing between people who appreciate exceptional care and those who exploit it without reciprocal respect, gratitude, or genuine consideration for others' efforts. Restaurant environments provide perfect training grounds for these crucial skills because they require constant assessment of customer character while delivering service, making emotional sophistication as important as technical competence for professional excellence and authentic relationship building. The journalist's praise validated not just service quality, but the emotional intelligence that develops when painful experiences transform into protective wisdom about human nature, professional relationships, and the difference between people who deserve continued investment and those who have proven themselves unworthy through their treatment of others. Confianza evolves from naive vulnerability to informed discernment through experiences that teach essential lessons about reading people accurately, setting appropriate boundaries, and directing genuine care toward those who reciprocate rather than exploit such treatment. The ambiente professional had provided education that no formal training could deliver, transforming workplace betrayal into sophisticated understanding of human psychology, professional excellence, and the leadership qualities necessary for creating authentic communities where genuine people can thrive, while toxic influences are naturally eliminated through wisdom-based selection processes. Don't let another day pass by approaching workplace relationships with outdated assumptions about human nature. Subscribe to this channel and activate notifications to continue mastering the psychological insights that transform naive trust into sophisticated leadership, protecting your emotional investments while creating exceptional professional relationships based on wisdom rather than wishful thinking.